Carlo Bustos, Educational Programs Leader at Proformative, the online community for corporate finance, accounting, treasury, and related professionals. I'd like to welcome everyone to today's webinar, Financial Force Accounting, 100% real-time cloud accounting. Financial Force Accounting is a comprehensive and innovative financial management system that takes a fresh approach to a traditional business function. Their online accounting application combines the power of Salesforce CRM with the groundbreaking accounting system to provide you greater visibility across your business. I'd like to take this time to thank Financial Force for helping us make this event possible and their generous support, for which helps us deliver this webinar at no cost, just like everything at Proformative. And now a few housekeeping items before we get started. First, I'd like to welcome you back to Proformative. Just a brief overview on Proformative for those of you who may be new to our community. We are the largest growing online community of finance, treasury, and accounting professionals. We are an ad-free, noise-free community where we encourage and expect peer-to-peer collaboration. Check it out at proformative.com. And now a few event notes before we do start. The link to today's presentations and the link to the recording of this webinar will be sent out to all attendees within 24 hours of the event. The presentation is currently loaded on proformative.com/resources for you to download and follow along. There are no CPE credits for today's technology demo. We do encourage questions to be asked utilizing your questions box in your GoToWebinar control panel throughout the event. We will do our best to answer your questions during our subject Q&A panel at the end of the event. If we do not get to your question, we will work with both speakers today to follow up with you directly and to address your question after. And lastly, you will be asked to take a short survey today regarding the webinar. We greatly appreciate your feedback, and we strive to continue our ROI, which we offer to you, all of the attendees. So your feedback at that time would be greatly appreciated. Okay, let's get started. I'd like to introduce today's two speakers. First off, Tom Brennan, Vice President of Marketing for FinancialForce.com. Tom has over 20 years experience in the financial software space and is a pioneer in the application service provider market, serving as a founding board member of the ASP Industry Consortium. Previously, he was Vice President of Sales and Marketing of Coda, a developer of financial software for multinational companies. Tom went on to become Vice President of Sales and Marketing at the Taylor Group, where he helped develop the firm into an award-winning Microsoft Business Solutions partner and application service provider. As the principal of Brennan Marketing, LLC, he had provided marketing consulting services to high-technology companies including Cisco, Microsoft, and Unit 4 Coda. He most recently served as president of Proactus Inc., where he successfully launched the company's North America operation. Tom holds a BS in accounting from Mount St. Mary's University and an MBA in marketing and international business from American University. Our second speaker, Sean Joseph. Sean serves as a solution specialist at FinancialForce.com, providing product and technical expertise for all sales-related activities. Prior to joining Financial Force, he served in consulting, product management, and sales engineering roles at companies such as North Star Systems International, Franklin Templeton Investments, and Caspio. Sean holds a Bachelor of Science in Computer Engineering from California Polytechnic State University, San Luis Obispo, and a Master of Science in Financial Analysis and Investment Management from St. Mary's College. I will go ahead and give Sean and Tom here, presenters, so they can walk everyone through today's presentation. And while Sean is getting that prepared on his monitor, I just want to remind everyone about asking questions throughout the session today, and we will get to them as many as we can during our Q&A. You can utilize your questions box within your GoToWebinar panel. Sean, the floor is yours.
This is Tom Brennan here. Well, thanks, Carlo, and really appreciate the opportunity to present to the Proformative community. Sean and I are going to take you through. I'll first start off, give you a little background on Financial Force, then a high-level view of our applications. Then Sean's going to take you through various aspects of the system over the course of the hour. So why don't we just get right into it here. So by way of background, Financial Force builds back office applications for the Force.com platform. We have the #1 accounting and professional services automation apps. So we build accounting and professional services automation apps for the Salesforce platform. The company's backed by Salesforce.com and Unit4. It's a joint venture of those two companies. Salesforce, I'm sure you know, is a leader in online CRM applications and cloud technology, including social media technology for the cloud. Unit4 is very well known in Europe, and you may have heard of the Coda and Aggresso brands of accounting and ERP applications, but Unit4 has been building back office applications for over 33 years. And really what you're seeing here today is a combination of know-how in the cloud from Salesforce and know-how in building apps for the back office from Unit4. So what I thought I would do, quickly here, just share a little background on how we came to developing on the Force.com platform, and you can move to the next one if you like, Sean. We kind of came to this point. We've been building apps for over 33 years, and each time you build a new accounting app, you have to kind of look at what's going on in the world, especially with technical platforms, and whether it was a mainframe, a mini, a database, you have to kind of pick which ones you're going to support, see which platforms are going to win. And it became clear to us that in coming from various versions of applications, that it was time to pick which platform was going to win the next race, and the cloud had emerged. And there's a number of cloud or people proponent or claiming to be platforms out there, but to us, we made the choice to go with Salesforce. And we thought one of the reasons we did do this as well, and we picked Salesforce, is we also thought that most of our customers would be picking Salesforce, and Salesforce was going to win. So let me give you a little background on why, and then what we get out of it as a developer, and what you get out of it as a user of the apps. So if you look at this slide, at the bottom layer there is typically, kind of I guess maybe the most first talked about layer in a cloud platform, and that is running data centers, putting security in place, doing backups, making sure reliability is there, providing sandboxes for people to do things in, and then providing on top of that a structure, which is typically called a multi-tenant structure, to run multiple companies off of one app, and that gives you sort of the economies of scale where you can run one app across many, many different companies. And instead of building that ourselves, we thought, hey, why don't we take advantage of what Salesforce did? And we thought, our customers would be doing a similar thing. So Salesforce had broken the code on that, been very successful, well over 100,000 companies using this platform. And so we thought it was tried and true. The next thing that was really interesting, though, to us, and it gets more interesting as you move up the chart, is that Salesforce not only provided this sort of the infrastructure, but they also provided a number of applications that would be embedded or shared with our apps right away, that we wouldn't have to build them. So for instance, there's mobile capabilities that are available for the Salesforce platform. So a dashboard in our app on the mobile app will automatically appear in the Salesforce mobile app as well. We didn't have to do anything in order to support that. Next, there is a workflow engine. In many cases, and over the years, Unit4 had to build workflow engines or trying to take one from the industry and mold it in. And it's sort of like it comes sort of a stack approach as opposed to a family of apps. And what we liked is that the workflow engine, that if you're using Salesforce today, your marketing and sales team might be using it to route transactions or approvals around. We could use that same workflow that marketing sales is using. We could use it for accounting apps and actually bridge the whole organization. Same thing was true of reporting. So the Salesforce has got lots of different dashboards. Sean will show you a lot of capabilities to go online from a lot of different devices from anywhere that you are to see what's going on in your business. And the dashboarding and reporting tools were all there. We wouldn't have to rebuild all those either. And the nice thing, again, is if your sales and marketing teams are using those today, you could use those exact same tools, and you can use them for a financial or back office system. And then one of the last great big bonuses to us was the use of Chatter. And if you're a Salesforce customer, you probably know what Chatter is. If you're not, I'll explain very quickly. Chatter is a social media application that is embedded inside of the Salesforce platform. And so instead of sort of like a Facebook app that sits outside that you go and log in on, it's a social media app that's actually embedded in the data and the systems that you have. So for instance, an account object inside of Salesforce can have a chatter stream where everybody in your company can have a conversation about it. You certainly can have conversations with each other and follow people and things like in the Facebook kind of way. But the real powerful thing to us in this is that not only could you put a chatter stream on an object, you put on things like a transaction, a customer, an account, a vendor, a journal entry. Those streams become part of the audit trail of what's going on with the actual transaction. And we thought that was very, very powerful. And also by using that, it allowed us to break down the barriers between sales, say sales, finance, and marketing as an example. So if everybody's using this same tool and wanted to discuss an account, they could do it right there in Chatter. So that was what was great about that is, again, we wouldn't have to build it. It was just part of the system automatically. And so when we produced our accounting app, we were the first accounting app to have social media functions available inside of it. And Sean will show you how that's used inside the app. So then, as I said, as it gets a little more interesting as you move up, what we also liked is that we could build on a whole ecosystem of apps, whether it was sales and service apps or Sales Cloud and Service Cloud that Salesforce provides, or all the apps that are available on the App Exchange. So there's over 1,700 apps for you to choose from that are available on the App Exchange. It's similar to what you might think of on the Apple App Store, where you can go down and download apps into your environment. It's the same thing, but it's a corporate version of that. And so we thought, you know, if we're going to be building back office apps, we're not going to have every app that a customer wants. We needed to provide a way for them to either find their own apps out there, vertical apps, for instance, or actually, if you see to the right, the ability for them to build it themselves. And so we thought, when we looked at these bottom two parts of the diagram, that if a customer wanted to build an app, they'd see the same benefits. And if they build an app, it automatically has workflow, it has Chatter, it has reporting. And so then again, we thought this is a real attractive platform for a business to build their whole IT strategy around. And so then the last thing here that I wanted to point out is Salesforce enabled us to not just build with alongside these Salesforce and service apps. We actually could build on them in some cases. And so inside of the Sales Cloud and the Service Cloud, there's a notion of an opportunity or an account. And let's pick on an account per se. And what that allowed us to do, and rather than in the old days you built an accounts receivable system, you created yet another account record, and you'd have multiple account records out there. It allowed us to take that one account record that was always being used and extend it and add invoices and cash payments to that. And again, Sean will show you that. But what it did is it simplified the number of master records. You only have one. So you'll see when we come into the system, there'll be just one place for all this data. So really what it did is it allowed us to sort of build an accounting system that had a CRM engine underlying it, and all these tools that you see here going with it. And it allows you to take a new approach to accounting. As the intro said, it's a fresh approach to the way accounting systems have been built. So the apps we built across the top, we built accounting, it was general ledger, accounts payable, and receivable, which we'll show you today. A billing app, which you can use with our accounting, of course, or you can use, say you've got an enterprise app like an SAP you're not ready to get rid of today, but you want to create invoices from the platform and integrate it with that, you can do that. We have a standalone revenue recognition system, a professional services automation app, and then a media app that's geared for online advertisers to help them do billing of things like banner pages and other clickable or impressionable advertising that's out there. So for today, what we're going to spend most of our time is on the accounting and billing side of the equation. Happy to talk to you more if you want to contact us about learning more about those other apps. So if we go to the next slide there, Sean, I just wanted to mention a few things that Sean's going to be showing to you, so you know when you see them. We built some additional apps that go across all of our whole family and they go across the platform. One of them, the first one you see in the upper left there, is ClickLink. And the reason we built that was to make an easier way for customers to integrate other apps. And a lot of times when you hear integration, suppose you built your own custom contract app or something like that, and you wanted to create invoices from it. The integration from one app to another in many cases required coding or something of that nature. And so what we did is we built an app that allows you to do integrations and master synchronizations and things like that. Do that through the user interface of Salesforce in a clickable way. So the idea is to click it, not code it, and it allows you to integrate things and implement much more quickly than you would otherwise. And you'll see when we create invoices here today, that's one of the techniques in which we do that on the platform. The next thing is we've got a community available to you that's within the app where you're able to go from inside the app out to find answers and to log ideas that you want to put in the product, and actually generally communicate with the other parts of the Financial Force community. That's all embedded in. And then last but not least, we have a number of reporting tools that we're going to go through. We're going to take you through, Sean, I think towards the end, I guess actually all throughout you'll see different versions, different types of things that we're doing there. But what we've done is we've built, take an approach, but there's some tools that are the right tool for the job. And so we built a tool that helps you easily build financial statements the way you want for board presentations. There's another tool that works really seamlessly and securely with Excel. We think Excel at times is overused out there, but there is a time and a place for it, and we know you all want to work with it and work with it in a secure way. So Sean will talk a little bit about that. So if we just move forward to the next slide, Sean let me just tell you a little bit about one of the problems we see out there. And a lot of you have probably dipped your toe in the cloud. Many of you have probably put Salesforce in, and sort of the great thing about that, of course, you're getting in and taking advantage of that. But one of the problems that we see typically is the accounting side is left behind, and it's still an on-premise solution, maybe a server in a closet or on somebody's laptop, even in smaller companies. But what we find is that companies will have Salesforce in, they'll have some sort of system in the middle to do billing. Many times it's spreadsheets and manual systems or custom tools, and then an accounting system. And back to that master file thing I was talking about earlier, you'll have an account in Salesforce, one in billing, one in receivables. So it's 3 different ones for you to maintain. Many cases we'll find people, they win a deal in Salesforce, and then as soon as you got to create an invoice, you start a rekeying kind of process that goes into billing and accounting. And typically we find, it slows down the opportunity to cash process month ends as a result of doing that. And certainly, all that kind of manual labor and such it's not very efficient. And so in many cases we'll find companies, especially growth companies, that are growing out of an entry-level situation or an older situation where the inefficiency from the opportunity cash process is just killing them. So each time you're more successful, you create more administration work to get invoices in and out and then collecting the cash on through. The last thing I'll point out here, one of the problems this does is it provides an information problem. Now you have 3 different places with information about the customer. So in many companies we find the salesperson owns a relationship. The salesperson calls up, or the customer may call about the invoice if you're lucky enough to have them call when you're chasing money, but they say, hey, this invoice isn't right. The salesperson doesn't have any exposure to what's going on in the billing and the AR side. And so they're working in sort of a without the right information. So, certainly from an information point of view, this is not great or optimal because each department's got their own system, their own island, if you will. So when Sean, without stealing too much of Sean's thunder, you'll see that we put all this on one platform to solve that. So the last thing I just want to mention, if we go into next slide here, Sean, is just, give you a little bit of taste of some of the things in the app that we'll be taking you through here today. We go from the ordering and billing side right through receivables, payables, and general ledger, of course. But there's a whole underpinning that we call our accounting engine. That's a multi-engine for multi-company, multi-currency, that kind of thing. So it's a very robust product. This is, this is not our first rodeo. We've been building apps for 33 years, and so you'll see some very sophisticated kind of accounting functionality built into this system. The system, I think, it's ideal for companies that are growing out of entry-level bookkeeping systems where, say, the volumes are starting to kill you, maybe the reporting is not keeping up with the different lines of business that you have, or maybe the audit trail isn't robust enough for you. And it's also, we also have a lot of customers coming from legacy or older system environments that are getting long in the tooth, and they're getting expensive to maintain. They're not as modern and have a lot of the capabilities that the cloud brings you that we're going to show you here today. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Sean. And Sean, maybe, we talked about the, why we built on the platform. How about you kind of give them a tour for what that's like and what kinds of things they can get out of the system, 24/7 from anywhere where they are.
Sure thing, Tom. So I just went ahead and shared my screen here. So if you take a look, you'll see that we have a very familiar homepage if you're accustomed to using Salesforce or have used it in the past. So embodies a lot of the same user interfaces, a lot of the same shared functionality that you're accustomed to seeing on a Salesforce CRM or Service Cloud. It starts with the fact that we are a single login system here. So if you look, you'll see that in my upper right-hand corner, I can navigate between application to application. So I can go from Financial Force Accounting over to my Sales CRM, over to PSA, any other applications that I have access to, as well as Financial Force Reporting, which is a separate application, but is included with your FFA, your Financial Force Accounting license. And so we do have that. It goes beyond just this notion of single sign-on because it is inherent to the platform, inherent to the application, and it is something that, that you do receive out of the box. We also have this notion of, if you notice in my URL, you'll notice that we are indeed on Salesforce's branded servers, as indicated by that salesforce.com there in the URL. The NA14 simply means that we're on one of the North American servers, so we do take advantage of that powerful infrastructure they have in place. It also allows us to be very efficient when it comes to our development and QA processes here as well. I talked about the user interface here with Salesforce, and that's evident here in that we do embody the same tab structure. So across the top here, you as the end user have control as to what tabs you see across all pages versus what's going to be behind the fold, if you will, by accessing this All Tabs button as represented by the plus. The tabs are also used in securing users. So based on the user's roles and responsibilities, they may have access to multiple tabs here, and they'll only see the tabs that they have access to, that they're entitled to. If you do want a more granular level of security, we can employ field level security. So they may have access to a tab, but not necessarily all of the data within that tab. A couple other items about the user experience here. They have a universal search at the top. We also have a collapsible left-hand pane that includes some of our browsing history throughout the app as well. So ways you can quickly find exactly the data that you're looking for. And coming back into the body of the screen here, we have what's called Chatter. Chatter being Salesforce's take on social networking. But you may be wondering exactly how that applies to your business, specifically your accounting and finance business. And it is modeled after Facebook and Twitter. It's a very easy to use and intuitive interface. And of course, inherent to any tool that's deemed to be social networking is this aspect of the human-to-human communication. So we have that here in Chatter. It's one of the fundamental features of Chatter. And you'll see that you can tag a user, pose them a question, they can reply back. They can even attach a file in the reply. But what's especially unique here, what I want to point out, is that all this dialogue is occurring within the context of this customer account. So we have this communication going on about A1 Solar, and as a result, it's going to reside within the A1 Solar account record. So you do get that juxtaposition of being able to see not just the years upon years of data that you may have for this customer, but also the communications you've had internally, the dialogue as well. A couple other examples of Chatter here. We have some items to approve that we went ahead and approved, so we get the notification here. We also see that we still have some items that we need to approve, so I can either approve or reject from the Chatter feed itself. More on the approvals and workflows processes that we employ in the application here in just a bit as it pertains to our payable invoices. But the last example I wanted to point out is that we have system-generated trigger-based messages here that appear in Chatter as well. So we have our debt exceeds $1,000 and is 90 days past due for a few customers that show up. So because we follow these customers, we see those in our Chatter feed. It also enables the accounts receivable team, the sales team, to also be aware of this type of trigger-based messaging as well. So perhaps it's you can hold the sales team more accountable, and you can have them leverage their relationships and follow up so that they can rectify this outstanding balance themselves, and they're enabled once again to sell these customers now that that very high outstanding balance has been relieved. So just a couple examples of Chatter there. It is something that can hopefully help you reduce the email trails, the instant messages that always seem to pop up because Chatter is searchable and allows you to have one comprehensive knowledge base, one comprehensive record of all the communication going on throughout your organization for years upon years of past activity. The last example I want to point out here on the home screen of how you have your data right at your fingertips is with the dashboards. And this is just a small snippet of what we have to offer when it comes to an overall dashboarding and reporting solution. It just goes to show that from the home page itself, you can dictate exactly what analytics, what visuals are most important to you, to your day-to-day, so that as soon as you log into the system, you are kept aware of them and you can see them. So we'll cover dashboards in greater depth, but Tom, back to you.
Oh, great there, Sean. So, Sean, you know what? Maybe to keep it moving along here, why don't we take them through how we share the same objects with Salesforce for the account, because a lot of companies out there, they'll have a separate record for billing, one for AR, one for CRM. Maybe we should take them just through how that's set up.
Sure. So you see that across the top here, I have my accounts, I have my opportunities. Those are perhaps just two of the objects that you currently use in your Salesforce instance. And if we take a look at one of our accounts, our Brightmane Lighting account, you see that we are indeed leveraging the same shared masters, the same shared records that you're accustomed to using when it comes to an account record in your current Salesforce instance. So we at Financial Force, we like to say that we're embedded into Salesforce. We go beyond just a simple integration in that we do utilize these same shared records, and you see that within this account record here, I have my chatter feed at the top. So as soon as I log into my or access my account, I see my chatter feeds. But if I close that up, you'll see just the areas where we do embellish your standard accounts record with some of the more financial information, the information that we provide here with the Financial Force accounting application. So for a given account, I can hover over and take a look at my sales invoices. I can take a look at any credit notes I've issued related to this account, irrespective of any of all the opportunities that pertain to this specific account. I can see all the cash entries, so all the payments that I've received from my customer. We can even go beyond that and see the actual finance correspondence that's been generated from the system here. So I can see exactly which emails that I sent over to my finance contact over at Brightmane Lighting. For example, the invoices that I have emailed over to the customer. So taking advantage of the platform here, taking advantage of the same records, we not only have these objects, these references here in the account record, in the same record that you're using, but we can also extend that even further and incorporate calculations and calculated fields so that you have full visibility right down to the penny as to what that outstanding balance is with Brightmane Lighting as it relates to your relationship with them, as well as any other customers you may have. Tom?
Great, Sean. So hopefully you see here that we have one place for the information to go to, and no matter which department you're in, you're able to see what's happening with that customer. So Sean, why don't we take everybody through the process of how things run across, starting from Salesforce with an opportunity right through, maybe not all the way through the opportunity to cash system, but as far as we can take it here today.
Sure. So in order to do that, let's go ahead and take a look at our Accounting Launchpad. And the Accounting Launchpad serves as a visual to represent or to go along with the tabs that we have here across the top of the page. So the tabs merely are represented here in a visual form, something that's easy to follow. We can also secure users so that they only see the components of the application that they have access to, the capabilities that reflect their day-to-day. So upon clicking into the Launchpad, you see that we have several different areas we can access: accounts payable, accounts receivable, billing, and so on. And when I take a look at the clickable pod here for accounts receivable, this can be tailored to your organization, but in this case, as Tom mentioned, we're going to start with the opportunities. We're going to create our sales invoice, move along to posting that invoice to generate the accounting transaction. And then we won't get to this today, but down the line, we can issue any kind of statements and reminders. So for instance, if our customer is greater than 60 days but less than 90 days past due, they fall into a certain criteria, and we can issue a statement or an email reminder based on that criteria. But if they do end up paying their invoice or multiple invoices, we can enter that cash receipt, that cash entry here in the system. We can post that as well. So we're going to be debiting cash and then crediting one of our accounts receivable accounts. And because we do that, we'll go through a cash matching process as well, where we take our cash entries that have been posted, take our outstanding invoices, and go ahead and match the two to indicate that an invoice has been paid. This can occur in multiple ways. We have a one-off way of handling cash matching in order to take care of any unique scenarios that may have occurred. But we also have a cash matching API, as well as out of the box we have a background cash matching that can automate the process and automatically associate a payment to one or more invoices. But without further ado, let's go ahead and start off here with the opportunities. And so when I access the opportunities, this is a view perhaps no different than what you're accustomed to seeing here. Again, using the platform's user interface here, you see that we have a standard view where we see our recent opportunities, and we can also define our own unique views here as well based on our own preferences. But in this case, let's take a look at Brightmay New Op. And again, we have the notion here of the shared master, the shared record. Within the opportunity, we have many facets of data, many different aspects we can take a look at here as it relates not only to the sale, but you can see where the lines blur between where the sales team ends things and where the billing and accounting team pick things up. So even from the specific to the opportunity, we can see the sales invoices, credit notes, so on and so forth. So that's one example of how we've embellished the page here. Another example is that we have placed a Create Invoice button here. So given that we have an opportunity, the opportunity is currently in the closed run stage, the probability is 100%, we can now, with the click of a button, go ahead and create the invoice. And even though it is as simple as the click of a button, we can automate that process even further and have your invoices automatically created in the background as soon as we go ahead and close this opportunity, and the probability is 100%. Furthermore, we can place that Create Invoice button on whatever object you use to represent your sales, whether it's opportunities, as we showed there, or if it's sales orders, price quotes, whatever you use to ultimately represent a completed sale. We can place the invoice button there using our proprietary ClickLink tool to allow you to easily create that invoice no matter what object you may be currently using. But you see that we have indeed created our sales invoice record. And so from this standpoint here, you see that it's a brand new object. We've moved our tab over from opportunities to invoice. And because all the information was captured either at the account or the opportunity, or perhaps both, there's no need to rekey any of this information. As a matter of fact, we have a PDF that's ready to go out, ready to be emailed to our customer right now. And to describe what goes into that PDF, it's all contained here within the invoice record. So we have a billing address and shipping address that's maintained both at the account as well as the opportunity. And because we have that, our tax codes automatically generate here, representing the sales tax payable for our differing municipalities there. We also take advantage of the fact that the system uses these user-defined dimensions here. So in addition to being able to report on things like sales by account, sales by period, sales by product, we also have these user-defined dimensions. And in this case, they're stored at the account level to allow you to go above and beyond and truly be able to slice and dice your data to show different levels of analysis. So in this case, we utilize our dimensions to track things like sales by city, sales by region, as well as sales by channel as well. So depending on the types of metrics you want to track in terms of your revenues, as well as your expenses, the dimensions are used for all the areas within the application that you want to go above and beyond what you have in your general ledger. So in this case, our 4 dimensions are populated by what we have here contained in the Brightmay Lighting account. So what we have predefined for our customer already. So we have some of the information automatically defined here: invoice number, invoice date, due date. We have a net total and a breakdown of our taxes in terms of the tax total here. And then coming down the list, you see that we can define printed text either at a universal level or specific to our customer account. And then really where the rubber meets the road here in terms of not having to rekey any of your information is all contained down here with your invoice line items. So we see the various products that we're selling in this invoice, the quantities, the prices that are associated to that. And we get a preview as to how we're going to post it to the general ledger as well. So because our account executive, a member of our sales team, has already input this information once in our opportunities, there's no need to have to enter that again in another system. We can easily bring that over and create an invoice that is truly ready to be sent out to your customer. It embodies the formatting that you want out of an invoice. We have a print formatter tool that enables you to define the formatting that you see here. You can incorporate your company logo there wherever you'd like. In this case, we have it in our upper left-hand corner. And you see everything I just described there within the invoice record itself, the invoice object, is brought in here. We have our products, the subtotals, the tax summaries, and the underlying printed text that can represent your payment details, terms and conditions, whatever you'd like. And so when we come back over into the application, you see that we also have a post button here. So we can go ahead and post. As I mentioned, the post will create the accounting transaction. And we went ahead and posted here. We generated that transaction. So that is indeed hyperlinked. So we can take a look at the transaction here. You see that, from a fundamental accounting standpoint, we have our debits and credits shown there. And when we get down to the transaction line items, you see that exactly where we've posted our transaction as it relates to the chart of accounts we have defined here as part of the overall general ledger. So if we take a look at the full list, because of what's defined at our customer for BrightMate Lighting, we have a default accounts receivable control. So it posts entirely to that accounts receivable U.S. account in this situation, embodies the use of the 4 dimensions here as well. And so we debit the full amount there. In terms of our credits, we have the first 3 line items here representing our sales tax payable. We also have differing values here for deferred income versus sales, one being a revenue account, one being a liability account. And the answer as to why these differ is shown in the product. So for product B, within the product itself, we have the default revenue account defined, which is 4,000 sales. But let's compare that with our maintenance product here. And you'll see that at the product level, again, using the shared masters, the product catalog you may be accustomed to using already, we have our default revenue account, but we also have a 12-month spread income schedule here, representing the fact that this is the maintenance product, and the maintenance, the revenue associated to that maintenance has to be recognized over the course of 12 months. So those revenue recognition aspects are not only fundamental to the application, but they can be defined at the product level. So you don't have to key that in for each sale, for each invoice, and the associated transaction that you generate. When I come back over into the transaction here, I do want to point out that it's transaction number 4088. And I do that because I'm going to head over into my dashboards. And we have several different dashboards here. I do want to take a look at our accounts receivable dashboard. And you see the associated analytics here. So the dashboards represent the rich visuals that are actually driven by the Force.com reporting engine and the reports that you've built using that platform report tool. And that's evident here with our customer balances analytics. So this is represents more of a high-level visual, but when I click, you see that I can hover over, and it indicates that I can click to access the full report. So when I take a look at that report, I go from that high-level visual down to more of a 50,000-foot view because I can now see my accounts. I can see the outstanding balance right down to the penny based on how we define the report. But with the click of a button here, I can either show the details by clicking that button, or I can make it an inherent default part of the report. But now I've opened it up, so I go from that 50,000-foot view to really what can only be described as ground level, because I now see all the transactions associated and the transactions that make up that outstanding balance. I also see the general ledger account that it posted to. The transactions are hyperlinked, so I can click into each transaction to take a look at that underlying detail. But in this case, if I go ahead and take this report, filter it down to the current month, and run the report, you'll see that for this given month, I have several transactions, one of which is that 4088 transaction that we just created here. So, because that is hyperlinked, I can click into it and easily access that transaction information. So, just goes to show how real-time the system is, not just up to the minute, but also up to the second, because as soon as we went ahead and posted this transaction, it got reflected in that customer balances analytic, as well as the underlying report as well. So just goes to show how interconnected, how intertwined the entire platform is, all the objects within the system, so that as soon as you do create the transaction, you do see it in a report without having to refresh any data. Tom, back to you.
Well, thanks, Sean. So hope everybody, we covered quite a little ground there, and when we started from an opportunity in Salesforce through invoicing, receivables, right through to all the way through the general ledger side of the entry. And as you notice, we're all using the same system here. So there's not multiple master records, as we talked about. You're going to see systems on the market that are going to say that they're quote unquote integrated with Salesforce, and that often requires you to buy a separate bit of kit or product and pay for it and pay for the maintenance of that. That tries to sync up your Salesforce entity with the other product, and it creates another linkage for you to reconcile and to be thinking about each month. So what we've done here is there's none of that. It's embedded. There's nothing to buy or integrate or implement. So as soon as we implement, you're ready to go to start creating invoices immediately from the system without having to go through any of that quote-unquote integration. So that's why I think, I don't know if we called it shared or embedded earlier on, Sean, but that's really what we've done here. And then, of course, from an information point of view, what you have is a real-time system. So as soon as we created that invoice and posted it, it was available on the general ledger, and anybody who went in with a dashboard at that point in view could see what's happening, inside the system. So there's a lot to cover there, but hopefully you get a little glimpse of what the power is behind the system, having it all in one place. So I guess not to leave AP out of this, we should cover that a bit here too, Sean. And we just went through a process on the AR side, and maybe we could take them through some options here on how you can set up processes and workflows to work, and use AP as the example.
Sure, Tom. So when we went back and talked about the home page, we talked about how we can associate approvals with our chatter feature. That's just one of the ways we can do approvals. As a matter of fact, you see that we have our items to approve region here. And this fully utilizes the platform's workflow and approvals engine, and we apply it to some of your specific day-to-day needs here. For instance, having to take a payable invoice through an approval process. And so in this case, I have a payable invoice that's awaiting my approval. I can either approve or reject from here, but I want to make sure I know exactly what I'm approving so I can do so in full confidence. So in order to accomplish that, we have the hyperlink payable invoice that we can now take a look at directly from the home page. And so within this payable invoice record, you see that in this case we have our account listed here. This time around, it's our vendor account. So if I go ahead and take a look at this, you'll see that Golden Communications is defined with type vendor. And again, utilizing that shared master, that 360-degree view here, I can now see, now that I'm the customer, they're the vendor, I can see the various cash entries in terms of payments I have and that I've issued over to the vendor, the payable invoices that I have, either outstanding or those that have been paid, as well as any kind of credit notes I've received. Beyond that, when we take a look at this account that's type vendor, I can see that I can associate a default accounts payable control, a default expense account here, and I can also associate any credit terms that I've received from my vendor here, so that that'll actually flow into our payment process as well. When we issue payment runs, these credit terms will be utilized in those calculations if we do qualify for any kind of discount here. So whether they're a customer, a vendor, or perhaps they fall in between, that they're a trading partner or any other kind of partner, we'll store that all under the accounts object. So it's all going to be quote-unquote under one roof. But if I come back over to that payable invoice here, you'll see that we've defined information. In this case, even though it is an expense, it's a payable invoice, we still have the use of dimensions here. So we can utilize this and use allocations to track expenses by department. If we want to associate expenses to a project or a specific job, we can use the dimensions to do that here as well. So dimensions are very, very flexible, and with the 4 dimensions, you can track not just your revenues, your expenses, but also extend that out to looking at AP, AR, as well as go above and beyond that as well. You see the invoice date, the due date, those type of aspects here with the associated to the invoices that we've created. And then when we get down, you see the line items, just like we saw with the sales invoice there. But if I can direct your attention to the bottom of the screen, you'll see that we have a rather robust approval history where it was initially submitted by the demo user and then rejected, citing the fact that more information was needed. And then this time around, perhaps it was resubmitted, utilizing the fact that with our payable invoice object, we can store attachments as well. So we can actually have our underlying vendor invoice here. This can provide all the detail we need. So this time around, perhaps it was submitted with that attachment, and now it still hasn't been approved yet. It's on my plate because this user is currently on vacation, so they reassigned this invoice over to me. So now I can either approve from here. We talked about being able to approve from the home page, from Chatter. But what's great about the system is that I don't even need to be logged in order to get these approvals out. As a matter of fact, as soon as it identifies me as the next person in line to approve, I'll receive an email stating some of the basic information about the payable invoice, something that certainly can be configured to your liking. And with that email, I can either log in directly to take a look at this full set of information here, or I can simply reply to that email with the words approve, reject, yes, no, something along those lines. But that one-word reply will actually matriculate in the system and show that I have indeed reviewed and approved this invoice, and it'll go to the next person, or it'll mark that the invoice has been approved. For a specific payable invoice, we can set up the approvals either before or after it posts. So, before we post to the general ledger, we can have it go through the approval process, or we can post it, and before we issue payment, as we do in this case, we can go ahead and initiate the approval. So it's very flexible in terms of how your organization currently has their workflow set up, so it allows you to continue on. There's no deviation from what you currently do. So in this case, we have our transaction here, and you see that in this case, for our payable invoice, we have our debits and credits matching at the top here. And based on what we had stored there at our vendor account level, specifically the default accounts payable control account, as well as our default expense account, knowing that 99 times out of 100, all expenses associated with Golin Communications are going to be a telephone expense. For those one-off situations, of course we can make a change. But in this case, we can really streamline the process by having this expense tied to the telephone expense account as defined in our general ledger. So you see those debits and credits matching. And from this date, I can go ahead and issue a payment run. So I can create either a payment for check or electronic payments and embody the accounts payable account that we're going to be paying down, the bank account that we're going to be paying from, and indicate whether it's check or electronic. And even if it's a check payment, we can go through that process here in the system and actually print to check stock as well based on the information we generate here using that print formatter tool. Of course, once we if we define electronic payments, we can facilitate that using the various bank account numbers, ACH, so on and so forth. And so once this, just to close the loop here, once the payment process is initiated, we can come back over into our dashboards. This time around, let's take a look at our accounts payable dashboard. And you see that one of the analytics we have here is our posted payments, where based on our vendor accounts, we can show the cash entries. We can show the vendor that we're issuing the payment to, the reference number. In this case, because it's a check payment, the reference number is our check number. And so we can do all that here within the system. But we did talk about the fact that, and show some examples here with the dashboards. The dashboards are just one solution that we have to offer here when it comes to our overall reporting package. So if we can spend a few minutes here, we talked about the dashboards, aka the platform reports. So you do get 4 dashboards out of the box. That's the accounts payable, accounts receivable, as we saw there, as well as the cash management and company financials. So that's utilizing the platform's report writer, and you get over 90 pre-written financial reports as well. Next, here we have the reports piece of our overall Microsoft Excel add-in. We didn't have a chance to talk about the Excel add-in, but it can be used in a variety of different ways. The vendor invoices, as we talked about, to log our cash receipts, journal entries, so on and so forth. But just as easy as it is to push data from Excel into Financial Force, we can also do the opposite and take data that we have in the system and bring it into Excel specifically for reporting purposes. So once we do have the data in Excel, we can go on and format it to our liking using your familiarity with Excel, and from there, using the capabilities of Microsoft Office. Of course, you can save it offline. You can also save the report as a PDF as well. We also have a Financial Force reporting application that I mentioned to kick things off here, and that allows you to create the quote-unquote boardroom reports that have all the that embody the same type of formatting, the same type of comparisons you want to show, maybe year-to-date versus year-to-date previous year. You can also show the roll-ups in your chart of account to your liking as well, depending on how you define the reports. And these also can either be run from the system from that reporting application, or they can be generated easily as a PDF. So, you know, if you do have meetings with your VPs, with your board, and they need that the type of report that they're accustomed to seeing, something that you can generate in a PDF and get locked down, you can use that application to build those reports out as well.
Well, hey, thanks, Sean. And there's a lot more to see here on the reporting side. You may want to go to the Learn More slide if you could there, Sean. There's a lot more to show you in the reporting side because, you know, it is a real-time system. All those dashboards you saw can be available even on mobile devices. So you are showing up at the board meeting, you pull out your iPad, you're able to do that. That's one of the big beauties of the cloud here, particularly this cloud, is you get easy access to it. You don't have to log into a VPN or go through some product like a PC Anywhere to emulate a desktop. You're right in the system. So we encourage you to get out to our website, and certainly if you want to find out more, just email us at info@financialforce.com. So with that, I think I'll turn it back over to Carlo. We may have a few minutes here for questions. Carlo?
Thank you for that, Tom and Sean. I appreciate you guys taking the time to share all that information with our users here. And I'm just going to go ahead and just share my screen here again and just move it over to Q&A. And everyone should be seeing that here. And we do have a couple questions, and I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get to all of them, so apologies to the attendees. We will work with both Tom, Sean, and Financial Force to get all of your questions answered. It was a great session for sharing as much information as you guys can with the limited time we do. But one question that did come through around the payment side of the house is Financial Force able to handle payments that are made via company credit card? That's a question that came through a couple times.
Sean, do you want to address that? Or?
Yes, so we can handle payments via credit cards. It's something that we actually work with a partner application on. It's an on-platform partner to facilitate both credit card payments as well as receipts.
Fantastic. Thanks, Sean. And another one that's coming through is in regards to nonprofits who are utilizing, I believe there's a couple references here to the Nonprofit Starter Pack. How does that integrate with Financial Force? Is that an option?
Yes, when it comes to the Salesforce nonprofit instance of the application, it is something that we work with completely, and we do have several nonprofit customers that have utilized that Financial Force as well as their instance of Salesforce in conjunction.
Very good. And one final question here, gentlemen, and this is more around the billing cycle, and this is for businesses that are on a SaaS business model. Does the Financial Force offer a subscription billing software, or is that something that you guys have partners to utilize for processing high-volume billing and credit card payments?
It depends on the type of customer. We do have many customers doing subscription billing. If you're somebody who's a utility or a large sort of high-volume B2C shop, there are partners that we have that do that as well, which is a little bit different.
Fantastic. Thanks, Tom and Sean. And we are very close to the end here, and I want to make sure that we keep all of our attendees on time and on schedule here. So apologies for all of the folks who we did not get a chance to. There's probably about a dozen still left over here, gentlemen. So if you don't mind working with us to answer these questions directly, I know we would appreciate it, and I know the attendees who have asked those questions would appreciate it. So we will work with both Sean and Tom to get those answered for you folks. Again, I just want to remind everyone that you will be prompted to take a short survey once this webinar concludes, and we greatly appreciate your feedback. Please join us on Proformative.com to continue the discussion and continue to ask questions to your peers and experts, as you heard today, and we will continue this discussion at Proformative.com. And I just want to take this time to remind everyone of our CFO Dimensions Conference coming up at in New York City on August 21st and 22nd. We do have early bird pricing available now, and I believe that is until the end of the month, so please do take advantage of it. We have a great lineup of world-class, best practice leaders and speakers coming to share their case studies and war stories, so we appreciate you guys taking a look at it at CFOdimensions.com. And lastly but not least, I want to thank both Tom and Sean for their time today, as also I want to thank today's sponsor, Financial Force, for the support. And we really appreciate you guys allowing the time and giving us and our audience the opportunity to share your application during today's webinar. And I will now close down the webinar, and you will be prompted to take a short survey. We can please ask you to answer so that we may get better and deliver the right type of content and webinar to you. We greatly appreciate it. And I also want to take this opportunity to remind you that you'll have an option to request a connection with both speakers, Tom and Sean, as well as Financial Force at that point in time. I want to thank you, the audience, for your time today. We hope to see you again at another Proformative event or online at Proformative.com. Have a great rest of the day, folks. Goodbye.